The architect of this ordeal is Jimmy Donaldson. He locked his team inside a single room for 17 real-world hours, the equivalent of 100 in-game days in Minecraft. This diagram illustrates the environment they chose: hardcore skyblock. Players spawn on a tiny clump of dirt suspended over nothing but empty space. If they fall or die for any reason, they are permanently eliminated. To walk free without penalty, they had to beat the game's final boss, the Ender Dragon, within that exact time limit. Half the team understood the mechanics necessary to achieve this. The other half, Darius and Tarek, possessed virtually zero experience with the game. In a standard game environment, a novice is a slight drag on resources. In the total isolation of Skyblock, where basic survival depends on precise, cascading mechanical interactions, ignorance becomes an active threat to everyone. With no ground to mine and no resources to harvest, early progression relies entirely on exploiting the game's physics logic to create matter from thin air. This diagram demonstrates a critical exploit. Melting ice so water collides with lava generates a solid cobblestone piece. Repeating this infinitely makes this collision point a factory, providing the thousands of blocks needed to build bridges across the void to secondary islands. Executing this loop requires basic situational awareness. Within the first few hours, the novices managed to delete the only source of water by accidentally right-clicking, and then carelessly set their vital tree farm on fire. The peak of this carelessness arrived when Darius absent-mindedly fired a barrage of arrows and murdered the team's only tamed pet dog, Gerald. Every minute the competent players spent carefully constructing automation systems, the novices spent acting as agents of pure entropy, systematically tearing those identical systems down through sheer inattention. To make matters worse, the physical rules of the room dictated that the team could only sleep in real life when their digital avatar slept. Forcing 4 people to take rapid, fragmented naps over 15 consecutive hours heavily degraded their cognitive function and decision-making abilities. Under that exhaustion, they had to cross into a hostile dimension known as the Nether. Here, they were required to barter gold with entities called piglins and hunt hostile creatures known as blazes. This graphic breaks down the production chain. Blaze rods and ender pearls combine to form the Eye of Ender, the material required to activate the portal leading to the final boss. Despite the fatigue and the blunders, by day 99, Chandler successfully grinded enough resources to equip the entire group in fully enchanted diamond armor. They also armed themselves with a high-level speedrunner strategy, hoarding over 20 regular sleep beds. Due to the physics of the final dimension, beds violently explode when interacted with, allowing players to deal massive explosive damage to the boss. On paper, they secured the perfect gear and mapped out an optimal strategy. But a pristine set of diamond armor successfully masked their severe physical exhaustion and the vast mechanical skill deficit lingering inside the group. The team gathered their supplies, crossed the point of no return, and jumped through the portal to face the Ender Dragon. The collapse was instantaneous. Tarek arrived on an isolated spawn platform, realized he had brought absolutely 0 building blocks to traverse the gap to the main island, and immediately fell into the void, dying upon impact. Darius, entirely unaware of how the local enemies function, carelessly looked directly into the eyes of several Endermen. He was swiftly swarmed and executed. Even the experienced players folded under the pressure. Jimmy attempted a high-skill teleportation maneuver with an Ender Pearl to escape the crossfire, failed the mechanical execution, and fell out of bounds. That left Chandler as the sole survivor. He held the explosive beds and wore the enchanted armor, but the relentless attacks from the dragon and the remaining enemies induced total sensory overload. As his health slowly ticked down, panic set in. In the chaos, he completely forgot the basic controller input required to eat food and regenerate his health. Which brings us directly back to the freezing tub of mustard. In a high-stakes environment with 0 margin for error, holding the best tools and reading the best strategies mean absolutely nothing if your team lacks the foundational experience to execute them when the pressure hits.